I can love you. Yeah, I'm gonna love you. I'll give you all of what I've got. The fancy finds, baby, I have not. Just gonna love you. Yeah, I'm gonna love you. I'm gonna love you, baby. Cross my heart and hope to die.
What's up, everybody? Kier Gomes here, and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about something that every magician has thoughts about, has feelings about, has an opinion about, and I thought, why not share mine? Today we're talking about marked decks. Intro.
Let's go.
So what is a marked deck? If you're not familiar, if you're new to the Magic community and you haven't heard this term before, a marked deck is a deck of cards that you can use in your performance or doing a trick where you can look at the back of a card and know instantly what it is. Now this comes in handy for so many different things. You can use it for mentalism routines, you can use it for poker cheating demonstrations, you can get creative and really do anything with it. The problem with a lot of marked decks is that they're either too easy to read so a spectator will know something's up, or they're too difficult to read and you're gonna struggle figuring out what the back of a card is. But there are a few decks that are somewhere in the middle that are just perfect for performance. Today, I'm gonna give you my top 5 marked decks of cards that I use all the time when performing Magic. Quick disclaimer, these are my top 5. In fact, I'm even gonna put in some honorable mentions for ones that I don't really use the marking system, but I think is brilliant. And you can always let me know down in the comments what your favorite marked decks are. So let's get into it. Number 5. The Madison Dealers. So the Madison Dealers were printed by Illusionist. These cards have been out for years and they're really popular specifically because of the marking system. This is what the deck looks like. Very classy, very non-suspecting back design, makes it great for Magic. It's got semi-standard pips and indices. Handles great because it's USPCC. Now, I'm not gonna talk about how the cards are marked in this video. If you're interested in figuring it out, you can buy a deck for yourself and check it out. For example, I can tell just by looking at the back of this card, it is the Jack of Spades. Now, the reason why this deck is so low on my list is because while it is a great back design, it's very easy to perform with because it's basically bicycle standard. The marking system is a little bit tricky to read. It's kind of a niche thing. You gotta really pick it up and practice a lot. Now, this actually illustrates the difference between a marked deck and a reader back. Both decks are considered marked. Reader backs are super easy because it just tells you the name of the card. Whereas these have a system you can interpret to figure out what the card is. Number 4, the Bicycle Inspired deck by Alex Pandrea and the Blue Crown. Obviously, this deck is also printed by USPCC, which makes it great for Magic because it handles great, lasts a long time. The marking system on this deck of cards is absolutely brilliant. So much so that when I first bought the deck, I didn't even notice it was marked. They look like a modern deck of cards, pretty applicable for the Magic community. I mean, bicycles are on them, so and the front of the tuck case says bicycle. I don't think a lot of spectators would challenge the integrity of this deck. They handle so good. So the marking system of this deck, it is not a reader back. You do have to interpret the markings, but it is genius. And I'm not gonna tell you how it's marked, but I will show you this. That might tell you something. This deck, again, perfect for performing Magic because it is bicycle standard. Handles great, looks great, all around great deck of cards, super easy to read. That's your preview, that's all you get. Alex Pandrea, always a brilliant mind when it comes to marking decks. He can figure out how to build a marking system into a deck that has nothing on it. I'm talking about the Noks, and those may or may not pop up later in this video. Number 3, we have the Dapper deck by USPCC or Expert, depending on which deck you own. I happen to have both. This is by Vanishing Ink. I love these cards to death. I've reviewed them on this channel, so I'll go ahead and link below where you can check that out. These cards are absolutely amazing, and they are a reader back, so they're marked, super easy to read. You might even be able to get the marking system just from that. Now, things I love about this deck in general, it handles great, even the Expert playing card version. This is the USPCC version that I've been using, but the Expert version handles well too. Cards are modern, they're classy, they look great, they feel so good. And a reader back is always handy. We can cut it. I can automatically look at it and tell you that this is the 7 of spades. How handy is that? I mean, come on. Number 2 is another Illusionist deck. In fact, Illusionist makes the best marked decks, or a lot of the best marked decks in my opinion. Number 2 is the Cohorts playing cards. I don't even know where to start with why I love this deck so much, but I'll give it a try. It's printed by Carta Mundi, so you can see by the thickness of these cards. Super thick, super springy, really soft, and they look awesome. Look at that. This is definitely a deck. You could walk into a gambling hall and you would see a deck that looks just like this being used for blackjack, Texas Hold'em, whatever. These are the little things like having a simple, non-suspecting back design that really make Magic astonishing for spectators because it looks like you're just using a regular deck you could have picked up at a pharmacy. As well is a reader back. That's all you get. This deck though, after you get the hang of it, it is super easy to read. So if we cut the cards, I can tell you that this is a 6 of hearts. And that's number 2. Now, before we get into number 1, I do want to go over a few honorable mentions. There's so many marked decks out there on the market right now for Magicians, and so many of them are brilliant, and they also are clever in the way that they mark the cards. For example, all the cards that I've shown you so far have been fully marked, meaning you can tell the value of a card and the suit. Some cards have just the value, and some cards have just the suit. Honorable mention number 1 is the Nok Deck. The Nok Deck is the epitome of genius marking, and the reason I say that is because the deck is just one solid color. There's nothing on it. If you're not familiar with how the Nok Decks are marked, it has been explained all over YouTube. Alex Pandrea has explained it. I think even on the Blue Crown website, you can see how the deck is marked. The true genius is taking something with nothing on it and finding a way for a magician or any trained eye to be able to read the back of a card. Example, cut. I can tell just by looking that this is a diamond. Legit. Hot fire. Another honorable mention is the Knights playing cards by Illusionist. These come in a variety of colors. I have them in gold, red, green, and blue, which at this point is all the colors that they come in. Now the Knights are interesting because they are marked, but they're only marked for value. So whereas the Noks are only marked for the suit, these are only marked for the value of the card, like ace through king. The reason why this one didn't make my top 5 is not because it's not fully marked, it's actually because the application that this deck has to Magic is not as strong as some of the other ones. What I mean by that is that the cards are not industry standard, they are fully custom, which can look kind of suspecting to a spectator. Cards do handle amazing, and the back design is really clever. The back design was a concept that was invented by Daniel Madison, Chris Ramsey, and I believe Oben Jones. If you look at it, you can see the back design is made up solely of chess pieces. The marking system is built into that. This marking system, really, really easy to read, but it does take some time to get to that point. Here's what I mean. Cut. This is a 6. And my final honorable mention before I talk about what my favorite marked deck is of all time is the David Blaine White Lions. The Black Lions have the same marking system, and I actually like the Black Lions better, but the marking system in the White Lions is a little bit more prominent. These cards are marked for both value and suit. They look standard. They have semi-standard pips and indices, some custom courts, but that's not a big deal. Ooh. Now, the reason why these didn't make it into my top 5 are a couple of different reasons. Number 1, and most importantly, the marking system on these cards is so difficult to read. It's genius, it's masterful. I mean, it takes a lot to be able to mark a deck of cards in a very non-discreet way, but it is so difficult to read these for me anyway, that I use these cards a lot, but I don't use them for the marking system. King of Clubs. Imagine doing that in a Magic routine. You'd look like a fool.
It's called congratulations, you played yourself.
The reason why this didn't make my top 5, other than the difficult marking, is these cards are real expensive. This deck here cost me 15 bucks. I have it in all 3 colors, so that's $45 for 3 decks of cards. You get it. Do the math. So far, we've talked about 4 out of my top 5. I've given 3 honorable mentions, and now it is time for my all-time favorite marked deck of playing cards. If you know me, you already know. It is the Red Keepers V2 by Illusionist and Carta Mundi. Now, the reason why this deck is my number 1 favorite marked deck is also because it's my number 1 favorite performing deck. You know, I got a lot of decks of cards. I have some for just casual. I have some for Magic, which is most important to me. And then there's like cardistry decks out there, which, you know, I have a small collection of. But this is my favorite workers deck of all time. My favorite deck to perform with in the world. In fact, really the only deck I do perform with anymore. Here's why. Beautiful back design, illustrated by Oben Jones, one of my favorite playing card designers ever. Standard faces. It's printed by Cartamundi, which is my all-time favorite stock and finish of any playing card manufacturer out there. I can smell the controversy now when I say that. And super easy marking system. Again, this is a reader back, so very easy to tell what the cards are at first glance. For example, this is an 8 of spades. This one's a joker. That's simple, you can see it right away, rapid fire, but it's hidden so well that a spectator's never gonna know what's going on. Ooh, hot damn. I could do this all day. I'm probably gonna do this all day. All right, so those are my top 5 favorite marked decks. And as well, because this video is really geared towards the Magic community, and there's not a lot in there for you card flourishers out there, I'll leave it up to you to decide. In the comments, let me know which one of these decks I've talked about in this video that you would like me to review, just for you. And that's gonna do it for me here today, everybody. I hope you have a great day. I know I will. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.